Right. Right. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Andreas. And first of all, thanks for submitting your film to the film festival. We really appreciate it.
And many thanks to you for having me and also accepting the film.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. You're very welcome. It's great to have films from all over the world. And usually, I suppose the first thing I was going to ask is usually it's easy to classify them because you can say, all right, this is a French film or this is a Swedish film. But this film is a Swedish film, I believe, which is in the French language. And, you know, you've got Oriental actors and all that kind of stuff. So can you tell me why you chose it to be in French, first of all?
Well, it's very much about the process of making the film in terms of ideas and how it eventually coming together, which is spanning several years. I've been struggling hard trying to come up with a film that makes sense to me, and I had this couple, these two characters. They were engaged with each other. They were also working together, but their relationship wasn't really working. However, that wasn't really a film until I came across this wonderful, great Japanese artist, a photographer named Haruhiko Kawaguchi. He has his alias. He's going by Photographer Hal. This is a real working artist. And suddenly, when I saw his art, which is sort of photographic images of him vacuum packing people, it sort of came together. You know, I had the characters. They had a relationship that wasn't really working. What happens when they suddenly get vacuum packed? So this is when it sort of came together and made sense to me. I saw suddenly this is a great in a short film format, and I had to make it. So that's the starting point.
So this guy is a real artist who creates, I mean, a very surreal art by the sounds of it.
Very surreal. He was really serious. At the same time, he's balancing this humor about, you know, the look of vacuum packing people. So on the one hand, he's talking about love, bridging all types of culture barriers and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, he's vacuum packing people, trying to make them come very close to each other and sort of freezing the love in the moment of time. And what you have this wonderful idea, and you have this wonderful photograph. At the same time, they look like something you buy in the shop, you know, something that's vacuum packed, some kind of consumer product or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like a kind of I was wondering, was there not a criticism of consumerism, you know, that you had this relationship that was vacuum packed and sold as a product or something. Yeah, it was an interesting angle there as well.
When I talked to him, the first thing I did when I saw his art, and I had already this short film idea, I talked to him about it. It was very clear that he was sort of balancing the humor and his own seriousness as an artist. Sure, I think there may be some sort of ideas about the society and consumerism. However, to him it was really about the humor, but also at the same time the wonderful idea about freezing emotion in time. So these two things made for a concept that he made out to a full-blown exhibition called Flesh Love, which was touring internationally and garnered great attention. Yeah, it was very great.
I mean, it's so in a way it's a bit like couples therapy in a very surreal kind of extreme way. I mean, because your two characters, they're introduced at the start of the film as there's obviously tension between them. There's a hint of jealousy, and this is their way, in a way, of kind of doing some sort of couples therapy.
Exactly, there was something going on there, and so my idea was that that these two couples, their relationship, it wasn't going anywhere good. You know, it was going south from the beginning, and for us it was a matter of in what way will this relationship explode somehow, you know. But when I read about Haruhiko's art, he was actually talking about some behind-the-scenes stuff where he described people that he was like picking up on the street that sort of volunteered to participate in his art. And they were not knowing each other from before, so they were like strangers. And what happened when they come together very, very close in a confined space? There were some stories it was telling me about that where one of them got married. They you know.
No way.
Yeah, and another couple that started to arguing and started fighting and ended up at the police station. And I felt great. This is what the film is about. What happens when you have this sort of, you know, the artistic vision and you have your art, but what happens with a couple inside when you are sort of you're using your art and you are pushing upon them some type of external force, and things will get clear. Things will crystallize what your state of your relationship are when you start to push on it. So that was also what's going on inside this film. Of course, it becomes clear that in this case, Kurt has a problem with Vanya, and he wants to address this problem when this external force are being sort of pushed against him, and Vanya, of course.
Yeah, it's fascinating because she is far more comfortable. I mean, it's they both have to be completely naked, and she is far more comfortable with it. I mean, when the artist suggests it, she says fine. You know, she starts to take off her clothes, and she says this is well, she's not totally, but she understands it, whereas he doesn't. I mean, there's a reluctance. He's very reluctant to do it, but she seems totally comfortable and open to the idea.
Yeah. So I was trying to layer this thing a bit, just, you know, having this this discussion about art, whereas Vanya is totally comfortable. She likes the modern art. She tries to say something about that. And it's very much a sort of nonsense but funny conversation. And they have their situation where they also have to do their work and trying to make this interview thing happen. But for Curtis, this is a very much emotional thing for him, and also he can't sort of, you know, he must come to terms with Vanya. Where are they going together in this? Except for, as you say, he also has difficulty understanding this type of sort of performance art or photographic art or like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of relationships, there's a lot of words unsaid, and the relationship stumbles along, and you can see that at the start that there's hidden jealousies, but it's rumbling along. But his art certainly brings people face to face in the most confined way possible, and it leads to either a survival, or it brings all the tension to a head. I find it fascinating that you say that some people got married. So he brought two total strangers together and vacuum packed them together, and they got married after as a result.
To be honest with you, I think for Haruhiko's journey with this type of art in confined spaces, it actually started with bringing couples together in bathtubs. So that was one exhibition. Then it sort of evolved the whole thing into vacuum pack people. So the stories about people getting married, sort of stuff like that. It was from the beginning where he put them in bathtubs in uncomfortable positions, and they had to come very close together, and yeah. So, but to me, it's the same thing. You sort of put people together very, very closely, and your problems start to bubble up. It will become clear, will you do this or not? So yeah, so that was the idea.
And I don't know if I asked you this already, but the motivation to use the French language?
Yeah, the French language is so if I back up a little bit, the idea with the characters that was a long time in the making. It sort of originated in stories from my childhood when my dad told me about his adventures in Paris, where he used to work. He also at some point met my mother there, but before he met my mother, he was living there with his fiancée. They were working together, and this sort of got to the point where I thought that this is an idea that I could work with, where you're in a sort of, a Paris environment, sort of, you're not really sure about where you are in time. It could be Paris, and you have these two characters trying to live together in Paris, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Yeah. So and it's kind of funny thing for me, because it's of course this is not the real Paris. It stems from a story, a different time. And when I take it, I sort of add on a lot of ideas that has nothing to do with Paris, but using the French language sort of made the whole thing, grounded in a sort of Paris idea. So also funny, because I don't speak French, so it's a funny thing.
That is a challenge as a director. So you were directing this film.
Yeah.
With God, that is, I mean, directing a film is tough enough as it is, as I'm sure you know. So that must have added a whole complexity.
So of course, I had a great team, a great crew. When the financing part of it came together, it sort of was a kind of a pretty fast pre-production, but I really met these two great actors, Josefin Wistedt and Björn Sellqvist, who is Swedish actors, but they totally speak French, no problem. And I also had, of course, help with the translation of the script. I wrote it and then translated to French, so I know what they were saying. And I'm very glad that they sort of stick to their lines. So there wasn't much improv here. So I kind of understand. But they were truly great. However, there was one funny story, and very, very early on in this process, I of course met Haruhiko and talked to him about this idea. But I also wanted to involve another friend, an artist, a Swedish artist. His name is Mikael Goralski, and I wanted him to play a sort of assistant in the studio. You see in this film, he's someone who helps Haruhiko sort of execute this sort of vacuum plastic photo shoot. He didn't know any French. But he told me that he would rehearse his French lines, and this was like 6 months before shoot. So,
that's dedication.
I was asking him, do you think it will work? Yeah, no problem. And then I think it was like 2 weeks before shoot, I asked him again, so how's it going with you? You're rehearsing the French lines. No, it's going to hell. I can't do it. What do you mean? No, it doesn't work. I tried, it doesn't work. Oh, okay. So, all right. So I just, I already had the idea about, having non-actors work with actors. So this was, I mean, I was prepared for, having this type of dynamic, working with non-actors. So I already participate. I know this could be a problem. So what I did was I wrote out his lines phonetically on large papers. So I had him read off these papers, me standing at the side of the camera and he looking at me, just reading the lines, which made up for a very, very funny vibe in the film. You're not really sure what's going on here. He's sort of, he's going through his lines, but it's also this kind of weird, read quality to it. And for me, this was great. This was some type of weirdness to it that I was actually looking for. So I thought it was great. The rest of the crew was not prepared for it, so I had all of them looking at me like, is it supposed to be like this?
Yeah, exactly.
But I was totally fine. Yeah, great. Yeah, let's move on. This is perfect.
Yeah, because everything is so surreal. I mean, and I don't want to give too much of the film away, but they're struggling journalists and they have to interview people, and then they find that they're trying to interview a comatose drunk sculptor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, this is just these different ideas coming together in a way that made sense to me. That I was seeking this kind of absurd, quirky vibe that sort of made sense, but not really. So for me doing the film, it was perfect. It was great.
Yeah. Was it good fun making the film? Because sometimes, I mean, comedy, I mean, it's a tough experience making a film at the best times. So was it good fun making it? Was it tough? Was it a challenge?
I think so, yeah. It was very much fun. It was all I could ask for. I had a perfect team. I had this great DOP, Simon Averin Markström, who's really, really great, and the actors Josefin and Björn, really, really great. We made it. This was just a one-day shoot, so just one day.
What was one day?
One day, just pulling the scenes off, just making it work. Of course, I had to make a lot of adjustments, but since I was the writer, I was the producer, I was the director, I could just sit down, make the adjustments myself. Just maybe we had to do the scene another way. Well, we just do it. So it was very easy in that sense. And of course, I mean, it's a short movie, not many scenes, so it worked. So really, it came together really great. So I was really happy.
Yeah, that's great. And has it just started its film festival circuit now, or?
Well, yeah, it started not just it started going now in I think in the beginning of the summer. We had some wins at several festivals, and it's keep rolling now, and I hope it will have a great rest of this year and also next year. But of course, I'm at the same time I'm working on new projects. For this film, there was an idea from the beginning of making a sort of test out of these two characters of Kurt and Vanya, but the idea was also to make a feature film version. So I'm developing the feature film version of Kurt and Vanya, where we will follow them on a longer journey. Meeting all kinds of different aspects of the art world, but at the same time we will see their relationship sort of develop through this art. And also I have a new short that I'm working on, also centered on an artist. In this film is exhibiting its own mother, and then it sort of does not go very good also in this film.
Right.
So there's a theme here that I'm working on using this great examples of art and sort of exhibiting inside the film.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, which is probably an obvious question, but are you an artist? Well, I can see the art in the background, so I'm assuming you're an artist yourself.
Yeah, this is my office that's doubling as an art studio here on Gotland. I'm not a sort of established artist like a painter or something, but I'm doing my own paintings, and also I'm working on my own exhibition using paintings, photographs, and sort of works of video, not really films, but using video as work for exhibition. So that's very much part of what I'm doing.
Yeah, you seem to be particularly interested in fusing art, particularly modern art, with film. So that's your main interest.
That's my main interest. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see have you shown the film in France, because it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I know.
How that French auteur kind of culture.
Yeah. So as of now, nothing yet. But I'm sort of hoping to get a chance of screening the film in France to get the reaction of.
Yeah.
Is it making sense, and what are they saying about it? So yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what I love about it is the film is that you're provoking a response, and with a surreal piece of art that, I mean, it would be tough to get more surreal than that, which is fantastic. It's it would be interesting just to see. Well, of course, the French can be quite particular about their language, and
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just me thinking about, but perhaps they will sort of pick up on that this is not really France and this is not really Paris. Maybe it will become clear that, and also, I mean, the characters are not really French, and so it has nothing to do with Paris and France. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that it's more of a weird international type of film that has no geographical boundaries or something like that, and it's just things are just happening. And
yeah, but at the same time, it's almost like a little bit of homage and a little bit of a love letter to that French culture.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, to me, growing up with these stories from Paris, it was very much about Paris being the hub for art. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
It's the mecca of the art world. So of course, yeah.
So your future films, you touched on it. You're going to make a feature out of this, is it?
That's right. So I'm developing now the feature film script for the Valjna story with these two characters. In this film, we will have more of their journey together, where we're just in this short film. We got a glimpse of it, the conflict that they have. So I mean, to me, it's a larger story, but it's also a larger world. With as we were talking about the Paris as the sort of mecca of art, and but for Kurt and Valjna, it's two different types of journeys. For Valjna, this is very much at home. For Kurt, this is new ground. So we will see this in a type of funny. It's got the drama, it's got the seriousness, but like balancing the humor and the drama. So we will of course get a kind of absurd vibe to it, and so it's a larger exploration, and so that's going on now, and also this short.
Oh, it's already started.
Yeah, that longer film will feature real artists. I think Haruhiko is definitely on board, the photographer Hal, but we also will see other great artists, but also other aspects of the art world. But I think it's very much centered around the performance art, because it's really in the performance art where you have people sort of engaging in some sort of event, and then you can have a response to it. Of course, you can have responses looking at painted artwork and photographs, but I think it's in this case it's very much centered around the performance.
Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Look, we are delighted to screen the film. It's a pity you can't be there, but we thought this would be thought this would be the next best thing to chat to you, on Zoom.
To join this way at least.
Yes, yeah. So look, we're delighted to screen it. We're delighted to talk to you today. It's been fascinating. So many aspects of it, that it makes me want to go back and look at the film again with new eyes.
I know.
Yeah. So wish you the very best of luck with the film and with your future filmmaking. So thanks very much, Andreas.
Thank you, Fergus, and thank you so much, Dublin.
Okay.
Have a great festival.
Yes, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.